Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever, wherever.
Night.
Sorry?
Night, that's how I feel. Good night.
Good
I can
night.
go sleep.
Bye. So, welcome to the show. Why are we here? What's the human race doing? Why was Stonehenge built? Why do we have eclipses?
I can answer that.
Most of these questions will not be answered in this programme.
Today.
Never.
Though they might have been answered before.
Well,
and
I
they
know
might
why
be
there
answered
are
in the future.
eclipses, because the moon goes in front of the sun and it just happens to be a similar size.
I was watching
sky.
a Carl Sagan
Why
interview this week,
Why you
and it was
how
going on
intellectual.
about other universes and how our universe is in a bubble, and then there's countless other
Well,
universes.
the
The
theory
theory, yeah.
can't be proven.
Well, no. But what can be proven, really?
Well, lots of things through science.
Ah, right, there we are. Yes, that's
But
true.
they still don't know why Stonehenge was built.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. And like
No.
I said the other week, I think it was a big, popular equivalent of Westfield, but a bit like a church as well.
I mean, could it have been
A church with a shopping centre.
that there were sort of huge people and they used it as sort of like a bowling thing, and they
No.
had to knock them over,
No.
and they'd get scores?
No,
I think giants
because they
were
would have
around
found
there.
they would have found giant skeletons.
I
wouldn't they,
think
Paul?
they're not telling us that they found them.
Oh,
I think
shush
that's the
now.
thing. I think there's a conspiracy theory.
No, there isn't.
There is that we used to be much, much bigger and we've shrunk.
No, we were tinier. We were smaller, like the Hobbit people of Guernsey. No, they found the
we
Hobbit.
always get back to my homeland.
They
don't we?
found the Hobbit people.
Did they?
Yeah, Homo something.
Hobbitus. Homo hobbitus.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they called them, I think. No, Homo floresiensis or something. They found them, and actually, there's a theory that they might still be alive.
Well,
and
there we
living
are.
somewhere in a little Guernsey house.
Well, there is that sort of sub-level of thinking that in the subterranea of New York underground and all of that is there are people living down there that have their own sort of culture and things.
Yeah, but
and
they're
they
not
sort of
Hobbit
come
people,
up.
Paul.
Well, they might be.
Shh now.
They might be, and they can't
Honestly.
really see because they can only see in the dark. And
No, I don't think so, Paul. I don't believe in any conspiracy theories.
No, I don't
I
really
don't.
either. No.
I don't think they exist. I don't think they're a thing.
No.
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 Anyway.
No, there's a conspiracy theory that conspiracy theories are a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a thing.
Yeah. No, are a thing. But that's untrue, because they're not. So that conspiracy theory of the conspiracy theory is actually in itself incorrect.
Shh, I'm confused now. So welcome, bloody
Sunday chat!
That's the show.
There we are.
That's why we're here,
Yeah.
to chat on a Sunday.
Yeah. And it
True.
is Sunday.
It is actually Sunday. It's
It
Sunday
is.
lunchtime.
It
I'm
is.
hungry now, Paul.
Well, I think we're going to have something slightly different for lunch today.
We had toast, mountains of toast this morning.
Yes, we did. Yes. Yeah. We had
used
3
a whole
pieces
loaf.
each. Did that whole loaf? Well, there were 3 of
It was
us.
quite difficult to cut.
He cannot cut bread. I mean, he really cannot cut bread. He does a slice and it's sort of like a centimetre that side and 3 inches that
I
side.
just don't know why. I'm really careful.
I
And
think
it
you
always-
press the bread down.
It's
and
nothing to
you
do
need
with
to
that.
let the knife do the work and
It
just hold it
can't
all
do
in
the-
place.
It can't do the work because usually the top of the loaf is sort of airy. Because when you make them, Paul, I don't know what you do.
Yeah,
You
I
do something
can't really
wrong.
make bread in his instant
Machine.
pot machine.
It's not an instant
What
pot.
is it?
It's a bread
A
maker.
bread maker. Yeah, I
It's
can't make
Panasonic.
bread in the bread maker.
And if you've not seen my bread maker video on why buy a bread maker that's had 19,000 views.
And amazing comments as well. Did you see that one this morning that said that basically he thinks you're a god?
He's right. But yeah, watch here.
Yes.
Not now, you're watching this.
Yeah, we're
now.
watching this now, yeah.
Oh, come on.
You should actually be able to click on it and add it to watch later rather than, switch over, or I don't know, maybe you can.
Yeah, well, don't be so fussy, Paul.
Well,
YouTube
I am
isn't
fussy.
a supercomputer.
Well, it is. It's all Googled and ding-donged and things.
My lips are feeling dry, Paul. Where's my Vivid Balm?
Make sure you get the right one. The one I haven't used for my nice soft heels.
Yeah, alright. So, as I was saying, welcome to the show, and if you're new to the channel, God help you.
Yeah, it most probably switched off. Yeah. Oh,
My
dear.
lips are really dry this morning.
Oh.
I know, I can't go on. My dry lip journey. Alright. I think your hair could do with some Vivid Balm, actually, Paul.
I
It's
think my
looking a
hair
little
could
bit-
do with something,
It's
yeah.
looking a little bit gonk-like this morning. So,
You see, I had my annual bath the other day, and I usually put some hair oil and some of that curl thing and do that, and then do that when it's wet.
you should
And
never
I
do
forgot this week. Well, no, I do it gently. I don't...
that. Exactly, because hair when it's wet is fragile.
It's very brittle, yes. So I forgot to do that. So when I woke up the next morning, I had dandelion head hair. And it's I've not done anything about it
Nobody
since.
cares. God.
Nobody cares.
So first of all, we usually kick off with Rich and Paul's weather report to have a look and think about the weather this week. Well, it's been a heat wave, Paul. It has been a heat wave.
It was 3 days.
It was a heat wave. 3 days over 28 degrees in London is a heat wave.
Yeah, yeah. And then we had a bit of thunder and lightning. Other people had much, much more. Then we had a really heavy hour of rain, which turned into sort of drizzle for about 4 hours. And I think we've got this weather sort of, it's grey and overcast and cooler for like a week now, haven't we?
Have we?
I think so.
I don't know. Is that a logo or a bit of dinner? Oh, it is a logo.
I do have these 2 t-shirts that whatever, I get them out and whatever I next eat, they're sort of magnetic for that food and it just sort of attaches to them and they need to be washed after, just like 1 hour of use or something.
Anyway, so yes, it's been a very, very hot week. And of course, as all those people who have moved to the UK from other countries will agree with, the heat in London is very hot. And it feels very different to many other places. I've seen a number of videos of people from other countries saying, God, it's only 30 degrees, but it feels a lot hotter. And it does in London. It's very uncomfortable, very sticky, very polluted feeling this week as well, because we had 2 days of very, very still conditions where the air just didn't seem to change and there seemed to be a sort of smell in the air. It wasn't particularly pleasant.
No.
So, yeah, now it's cooled down, as Paul just said. It's feeling a lot more pleasant today.
And there's a
isn't it?
breeze. There was a very strong breeze yesterday.
It seemed to blow
all
everything
day.
through.
Absolutely. And today there's a sort of gentle breeze, which is just moving things around a little. Yeah, that's why the leaves are moving.
It's extremely gentle, Paul. It's barely recognisable as a breeze.
Well, there is a breeze.
I'd say a mere waft.
A waft.
Yeah.
A waft of wind.
So, Paul, how has your working week been? You didn't go to For Earth's Sake this week, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
I've got a very long day there this coming week.
Oh.
This week it was just like one bloody challenge after another challenge this week.
You know why?
Why?
Mercury's retrograde. It is, whether you believe in astrology or not. I don't know. I'm not a true believer, but I do find it very odd how people born under the same sign do seem to share the same traits.
There we are. So,
it's very odd.
So yeah, I don't know. It's I feel as though nothing was achieved positively this week in terms of my desk working life, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Things were advanced and things took a step back, and it was just one of those weeks. And
no, it was. I agree.
Hopefully next week is going to be a week where we take forward the steps that were sort of hovering around this week.
So
Fingers
you said
crossed.
that back to front.
We take forward this week all the steps that were hovering around last week.
What? It doesn't really make sense.
I think it makes sense. So yeah, I hope next week we'll
take
do
some
better.
steps forward.
Yeah. But particularly on those steps we didn't take forward this week. That's what I mean.
It didn't sound right. It wasn't an easy sentence, Paul.
No, it most probably wasn't.
No.
No, especially for your little brain.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
So, in the news this week, Paul, there's been some turmoil.
Turmoil. Is that sort of like aggressive termites? Is that what that is?
Cut.
Did you say cut?
Cut.
You did say cut, right, okay.
Why, I wouldn't have ever have said anything like
Cult.
the word you think I said.
Cult, that's what I thought.
There's been turmoil on the streets of Britain's cities this week.
Yeah, honestly.
There's been civil unrest that you might have seen in the news, but I haven't noticed anything going on in London.
Have
you?
No,
There hasn't been any civil unrest, unlike 2011.
Yes, gosh.
When we had riots in August, didn't we? Isn't it weird how these kind of things always seem to happen in the summer?
Well, we used to have the May Day riots, didn't we? That was sort of like an annual affair.
What, every week, every year?
Every May Day, yeah. I mean, it was,
we,
and Oxford Street would board up its shops, and it was a sort of lots of police and all of that.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was, and I remember because I had my office in Wardour Street at that time, and you couldn't go along Oxford Street because there was lots going on.
Were they May Day protests?
They were May Day protests,
Not
but they
May
became
Day
May Day riots. Yes, but they were called that, weren't they?
Were they?
Yes, they were, Richard.
Don't know.
So I don't know about at the moment, but there's no accounting for ignorant people. That's all I say.
You seem to get things happening in the summer months. It always seems to be that there's some kind of horrible, gruesome murders in the summer.
Oh, I think they're all the time now.
Well, I don't know. So that's been a bit weird, a bit unsettling, because it's all this kind of far right shit going down, which is not good for anybody. But on the positive side, the Olympics are still going on, and they seem to be surviving. And the reason I bring it up, I don't really watch the Olympics. I maybe catch an occasional couple of moments of the divers. Once they're in the water, I'm really not interested. But once you linger on one diver on Instagram, you tend to get a whole load of them come along at once.
Springboard of them, maybe.
No, I don't mind. But anyway, the reason I brought it
Is
up...
it just the male ones that you linger on?
Duh.
Oh dear.
But
There's been a lot of chat about a French swimmers swimming trunks this week as well, isn't there?
Oh, I mean, they leave nothing to the imagination, do they? Anywho, that's not why I was bringing it up, but you brought to my attention the segment about the Turkish shooter.
Yeah, the Marksman for the shooting range. Yeah, it was quite incredible, and I just happened to watch that. I think it came up on a side screen when I was working at my desk, and I thought, gosh, there's the trainer coming out, and the trainer turned out to be actually the Marksman, the guy who was there, the competitor. And he was just so fabulous because he was just so casual, and all of the shooters have these sort of lenses and things and ear defenders, and they're all kitted up, in such amazing ways. And he just stood there with his hand in his pocket, a t-shirt, and those sort of like ear mufflers that you get on an aeroplane, foam earplugs, and then with both eyes open, did his shooting and came second and won a silver medal. Good on him. I thought that was amazing. I really thought it was amazing.
It was. I watched it.
Yeah.
It was very casual.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I mean, you do wonder what he does in his day job, and I haven't looked into that yet, but maybe I should look into that, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some very highly paid jobs that those marksmen could
Absolutely
do.
I didn't know.
Didn't you?
Because in the UK, if you win a medal in the UK, you get paid nothing. You do it for the joy of sport. In other territories, other countries, you can earn hundreds of thousands.
Right.
It's incredible. I think Italy, if you get a gold medal, you get like €500,000 or something. And I think the US is certainly sort of in the high tens of thousands. And there was a medal table, and it showed those countries. I think there are 4 that pay their people who win awards nothing, and all of the rest, they get paid something. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I thought that's fascinating.
Absolutely intriguing and enthralling, Paul. So, also in the news this week, they've been talking about not being many butterflies, but I don't know about you. Have you noticed that in the past week, they've all suddenly come out in the heat?
Well, of course, if you watch A Week at the Plot, in last week's edition, I mentioned exactly this, the fact that there's been a dearth of butterflies and moths, but they've really come out in the last sort of few days. That was a week ago. But yes, there's many, many more butterflies than there were, but they are late. They are later than normal.
And apparently there's a shortage of wasps.
Yeah. Excuse me, which for some people is absolutely great, but for the ecology, it's not great.
And it means apparently that we're going to get a lot of the other insects because they kill and eat a load of insects.
Yeah, they're predators of other insects and creatures, and keep that number balanced down, and without that, of course, things start to go a bit skew-whiff. Certainly on the plot at the moment, we've got a lot of the caterpillars, the yellow and black caterpillars on our ragworts, and they came really, really late, but there's loads at the moment, absolutely loads. And of course next year there'll be the wonderful red and black butterfly that we see. Are they butterflies or are they moths? I can't remember. But yeah, they're absolutely beautiful when they pupate and then come out as flying insects next year.
Oh, lovely. Great, thank you, Paul, for that. The rubbish from the driveway has finally gone.
Yeah.
I mean, really, seriously. So, don't use Waste King in London because they're very unreliable, as we found out.
Well, we organised it, then it didn't come, then we had to reorganise, then we had to shift, and then we just couldn't get any answers. And then I tried another company and didn't get a call back from them, tried another company. And then I finally tried a sort of man and van, a smaller company, and just found them incredibly efficient. So yeah, when you're searching online, just because a company's bigger, maybe it doesn't mean they're quite so efficient.
Well, we'd used them before.
We'd used them, I think, twice before when we've had a skip and other stuff. But this time it just didn't work. So
it's almost like they don't want to take on, these companies in general don't want to take the small jobs on.
Yeah.
I mean, really, how are people supposed to get stuff done? You know? So we can finally clear up the driveway, can't we, Paul?
Yes, we can.
And be able to put the car back on the driveway, can't
yes,
we, Paul?
Yes, we can. Yes. So yes. We will be doing that.
I think today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, after this.
Well, after this you'll be editing and then you'll be having lunch.
And then I'll be having an afternoon nap.
Then you'll have an afternoon nap, which apparently only lasts about half an hour.
Well, I wanted to have one yesterday but didn't get time.
So today will be 2 hours. Yeah.
But we were mentioning the rubbish thing because we wanted to talk about communication in general. Because there was something else that happened this week that was confusing. And I'm finding that companies are not being clear about stuff in general. So the other thing that happened was we both got our mobiles through the same company, our mobile phones.
Through the same network, yeah.
And basically we'd had to change the plan. Well, you were changing the plans because
they come to an end.
They expire and have to be changed.
And the thing is, if you don't do that, then they change it for you, and you normally end up paying 2 or 3 times as much as you would do if you chose the plan that you wanted yourself.
Yeah. So you were doing this and, you know, they send you a number of codes that you have to put in. Please put this code in, blah, blah, blah. So you'd been saying to me, oh, have you got that code yet through? I said, yeah, it's whatever, 27849, whatever. And that was all fine. And then the next day, I noticed that my phone said emergency calls only.
Yeah, well, it was a couple of days later.
Yeah.
And we'd received a new SIM card through.
But we didn't know why.
We'd upgraded 2 phones. I just thought, well, this is odd. And then you came home from work and said, my phone's not working.
Phone's not working, why? And
I thought, well, maybe we need to put this SIM card into your phone. But his phone is exactly the same model as my phone. We got them at the same time. We got the contracts at the same time. So why wouldn't we get 2 SIMs? But anyway, we then had a look at the SIM card and read the instructions, which was to call the company. But in calling the company, it sends a text to your mobile phone to authenticate it, and his mobile phone wasn't working. So how did we do that? And I tried again, and I couldn't do it without, tried calling them. And then it just got to a point, I thought, well, let's just put the SIM card in, which it said, it didn't say to do that. So I just put the SIM card in, took the old one out, put the new one in, and it worked.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't. Your mind automatically goes to people who are not particularly tech savvy, older people perhaps.
Well, also me, because in the past, when you had a new SIM, you needed to port your old number over, the number you wanted to keep. You had to port that over, and I thought, well, is that still needed now?
But the point is, when you open that SIM card envelope, it should say, step 1, if you are receiving this because your plan has changed, simply put in the new SIM and your phone will work. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, blah, 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 step by step. If you haven't asked for a SIM, it may be because you've changed plan. Don't worry, do this, do that.
Yeah. Put the new SIM in your phone. It will work fine.
But there were no instructions whatsoever.
No.
So, I'm finding these companies are really not thinking clearly about the end user and what they might need in order to successfully sort this issue out. And, it's kind of more and more hoping or assuming that everybody knows what to do. And no, not everybody does. I'm not particularly good with that kind of thing with mobile phones because I always had a contract phone. I always got the phone from the company, but now we're SIM only. So, it's kind of...
Because why change your phone every year or every 2 years when you don't need to? Why pay for that?
Exactly. So, I'm not terribly up on what to do because you kind of deal with those things. So when you start not dealing with something, you start to sort of fall out of the rhythm that you kind of get into when you're familiar with a provider.
Yeah.
And I was thinking things like, older people, the husband's always dealt with that, the husband maybe dies, and the wife has absolutely no idea what to do and can't get through for help. It makes it really harder.
I mean, that was certainly the case with my mum and dad because even though they did things together and very often mum would write the cheque, dad would deal with the insurance for the house, dad would deal with the insurance for the car. We don't have MOTs in Guernsey, but he would deal with the servicing of the car and things like that. So, yeah, I think my brother took on some of those things. The car went to my brother when dad died. But I think my brother took on some of those things for mum. And I took on things that could be done virtually, from a distance.
But I think it's interesting because, generally the population is living longer. People are embracing technology in their later years, but the support doesn't take into consideration that very often the older you get, the more you kind of move away from really new technology. You kind of get used to the technology that you've got, I think that's the same for most people. I mean, we're pretty good at staying up to date with stuff.
Yeah, we're not, what do they call it? Those people who are right at the forefront. Early adopters. We're not early adopters.
We're not super users of things.
But we're sort of, a couple of steps back, but still sort of relatively high up there. Especially because it's still very much my work, design software and all of that. So on computers and things and moving from one computer to another, I have found that in our last couple of purchases of computers, it's been swifter.
Yeah. So, we just thought we'd mention that. Seeing as we're getting older now.
Well, yeah, we are.
Very soon.
I'm 58 and you're just coming up to 39.
39.
Yeah.
Anywho, so we've had my niece staying with us this weekend. That's Sophie Stock from Sophie Stock Art. And I'll put a link in the description box below. Sophie's had a couple of events. She specialises in pet portraits and also quick sketches as well. And she's in Islington today and yesterday. So that was lovely to see her. It's been another busy weekend, Paul.
It has actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I finished a week at the plot yesterday, so that's all uploaded and ready to go, so that's good.
I think next weekend's a bit quieter.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because we've got a busy September.
Yeah.
Lovely. So, oh God, here we go. Here we go. Word of the bloody week. Oh, I wonder what
Joys.
absolute intellectual tongue twisters they have for me this week. So this is the book A Word for Every Day of the Year by Stephen Poole. And today is the 4th of August?
4th, yeah.
Oh, God. Please be easy. Oh. So, the word is esculent. E-S-C-U-L-E-N-T. Not too bad. Esculent. It almost sounds like succulent. Esculent. Succulent. I'm thinking of food now. Oh! Food lovers are always in search of fancy new ways to describe food, so they could do worse than revive the term esculent, meaning anything that you can eat.
There we are.
In 1626, Francis Bacon warned a number of herbs are not esculent at all, while in 1633 we find mentioned a piece of Suffolk cheese or gammon of bacon, or any esculent as the learned call it. The word comes from the Latin esca, food, whereas succulent comes from
Liquid.
succus, meaning juice. I thought you did Latin, Paul.
We
You
did
weren't
do
very
Latin.
good.
It was a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I can remember certain things, but not others.
It was once
The thing is, I was better at Latin than
I
I was at
was-
French.
I was reading.
That's the sad thing.
I was reading.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Honestly.
I was thinking about esculent for lunch.
It was once the custom on this day for British people to make grottos out of oyster shells in order to celebrate the end of the closed season for oyster beds.
Are in the month.
So it was explained in 1863, the 4th of August was the period when the juicy esculent could first be enjoyed after a long interval of reticence. Bon appetit.
So that
Interesting.
was the thing, that you can't eat shellfish during the hour when there isn't an hour in the month.
I don't know. Paul.
Yeah.
Well, that I thought was quite interesting and fairly easy to read. I do hope you enjoyed it.
I thought it was absolutely fabulous, Richard.
Thank you, Paul. So, we come to the final segment of the week, which is what have we watched on television this week, Paul? Paul, stop scratching.
Is that an itch?
I don't care. What have we watched, Paul? We continue with Sunny.
We did. What was your favourite programme of the week so far?
I don't know.
We watched a Hockney, and I really
Oh.
enjoyed that. We missed the first.
Runny nose.
We missed the first bit about of him going to America, and I'm going to have to look back and see sort of how he got to America at such a young age. But
I do like David Hockney.
so I was just talking.
I do like him. I've got a soft spot for him.
And it was great because it was a Melvin Bragg interview. Again, we talked about Melvin Bragg last week, and it was a very recent interview with Hockney, where basically took it through the decades of his work, and it was really interesting. I thought it was great.
We also watched a programme on Jane Fonda.
Yeah, which was my second favourite of the week.
Jane Fonda in 5 acts. We've watched the first 2. So this goes right back to through Jane's life.
Again, a recent interview with her. taking it all the way through.
Yeah, so it talks about her activism and all of that. So really, really interesting. I love Jane Fonda, and I was addicted to the Jane Fonda workout.
You were.
I was. I wish I could. Well, I can't even try in here. I don't have the room to do Jane Fonda workouts in this house.
I think you should film yourself doing a Jane Fonda workout.
But
I think everyone would love that.
no, I'm not going to be doing that.
I think in your lycra and your
No.
spandex,
I don't think I could do it now.
and I could do it in my lederhosen.
I think I'd have to build up to it. Paul, really? We also watched a movie which we actually watched last week called Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris with Leslie Manville.
Yeah. It was a film, I think it came out last year, and I was really keen to see it. So I was happy to see that it was on Netflix, this is, and I enjoyed it. I think it was a nice film with a number of sort of loopholes and
Loopholes?
well, how they got the story going, it was a bit, we'll just pretend this. But I thought it was very sweet, apart from the artificial plants on the outside of her UK apartment, UK flat.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought there were... You mean plot holes, not loopholes?
Yeah, well, no, the plot holes, they went through loopholes to get over those plot holes.
Yeah, whatever. That sounds far too complicated for me. And it really was not a complicated
No, it wasn't.
story at all. It was okay. It was a little bit sugary for me in places, and the problem with it, I felt, was it was too predictable. And by predictable, I mean you kind of guessed what was going to happen quite far in advance, and it was like, oh well, yeah. And then the things you kind of thought might happen
Didn't.
And
So it wasn't predictable, is what you were saying there.
well,
It was predictable yet unpredictable at the
I
same
think there
time.
was probably one thing that you thought, I hope that happens, and that would make the story, and it didn't.
There we are.
So I wouldn't say predictable, unpredictable. I'd say predictable as it flowed, and I guess there are always elements of having to make a story satisfying for the viewer, because films that are deeply unsatisfying are very often very unpredictable and go in directions that don't feel right and jar with you. And films that do that, it's like we were talking about The Gentleman. You know, how some films turn the screw, and it becomes too much.
Yeah.
It doesn't become satisfying, it doesn't become pleasant to watch because it makes you feel uncomfortable and it jars. So, you need some predictability in a story to help it move. But ultimately, if you're really rooting for a character and you become a bit invested in it, in the film and the characters, you kind of almost get to the stage where you want the best for them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say what I was hoping for her as a character, but I would have liked it if that would have happened, because that would have also been a twist. I'm not going to say what it is. You'll have to go and watch the movie. So, yeah.
It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, it was okay. It was kind of
It's
fairly
sweet.
well filmed.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was good production.
And, it was
Apart from
interesting.
the plastic flowers.
Especially if you like haute couture.
Yeah.
You'll find it really interesting because there's some lovely dresses in it.
Lovely frocks.
Yeah. What's that? Your what? Knickers?
What?
Oh, kitchen. I said knickers. Your kitchen, 60 years of gadgets and fads.
Yeah, fads and gadgets.
Yeah, your kitchen through
time. It was very odd. It had one title in the listings. It had another title when you actually watched it. That was fun.
This was all about the changing styles of kitchens over the past 50, 60 years, whatever. Yeah, it was interesting because it was interesting for me when they were comparing the UK to America and how in the 1950s our kitchens were pretty strange affairs. They were a real mishmash of styles and furniture, and very often you'd have, you know, just ordinary cabinets on the walls and nothing matched, and you know, you'd have a butler's sink and, you know, maybe
Well, I know Gran and Grandpa, they moved things when they took them from the front room or, you know, another room, they put them into the kitchen. So theirs was a real mismatch. Sorry, did I talk across you there?
And of course there has been a resurgence of people wanting more countrified kitchens. Later that happened, but
I mean, our own kitchen, when we got our own kitchen, you know, we were looking at a Wickes kitchen, we were going to get, and then we weren't happy with it, and anyway, we found one online who would make us the kitchen that we wanted, and I was really keen to have the old metal clunk clunk on the doors, so that that I didn't want soft close or anything like that, and I love our kitchen to today.
do you?
I do.
You love that. I totally regret having allowed Paul to have those kind of handles, because if you catch your hand on one of those mechanisms, it really hurts, and they're very sharp. So never again will
that's
that be
the
happening.
reason I went for them. Yeah.
Anyway, as I was saying, at that time, all our kitchens were pretty dodgy in the UK. But over in America, you were already having fitted kitchens, dishwashers, all of the gadgets, and we were kind of stuck in the dark ages post-war. And then, of course, it was really much later when the fitted kitchens came into the UK. It was kind of late 60s, 70s when that started happening. So yeah, it was all about gadgets, you know, all about the styles of kitchens, the colours. So yeah, that was quite an interesting programme. We watched a programme on gold.
Yes.
Which was narrated and presented by Idris Elba.
Yeah, and I generally feel it would have been a much better programme if it hadn't been.
Yeah, it was
narrated
very
and presented
odd,
by him.
Slow narration.
And obvious narration as well.
Yeah, it didn't work for me either.
No.
But the content was very interesting. It was talking about, you know, it didn't focus fully on the process of how gold is made in the earth.
No, and
which I would have liked.
It sort of took us from really the gold rush onwards, didn't it? It didn't talk about how gold...
It hurried through the gold in the rocks bit.
Yeah.
It hurried through that. And, you know, they went down a big mine and
3.6 miles down in a lift, apparently. Something like that.
3.6 miles?
Was it? 3,600 feet or something.
I don't think it was 3 miles.
Oh, it was a huge distance, though. I didn't know. I thought to myself, I didn't think a lift could be that long.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was 3 miles, really. But anyway, yeah, it was interesting. The content was interesting, blah, blah, blah. Let's move on, because this is going on far too long. Oh, that's it.
There we are.
Bye. So, yeah.
We will be watching Jane Fonda in 5 acts, acts 3 to 5 this coming week, and finish that. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll watch some of that tonight, maybe.
Maybe. So it's time to say goodbye now. Say goodbye, Paul.
Goodbye, Paul.
No, say goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, bloody thank you for watching. Do take care. Have a lovely week. And we'll see you next week. And Paul will see you on Monday for a week at the plot.
Yes, and we'll see you next week for another Sunday chat.
I'll see you.
And then we'll see you on Saturday, or you'll see them on Saturday, for your deliciously loved, eculent daily vlogs.
Eculent. That's the wrong word, Paul.
What was it again? We've forgotten the word already.
Esculent.
Esculent.
Not effluent.
Oh dear. There we
So,
are.
that's it. Bye. See ya.
See you next week.
Alright, love. Bye, love.
Bye.
Take care.